Hi all, it's Thursday again, and this will be a heavy-ass focus show, and I mean focus. It's not going to pull any punches. We're not here to tread on eggshells. We're going to call it as it is. What you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Think and act different. This is rather apt and the timing of a revisit of the Clowns in Panic show. You will get the meaning behind it. There will be some intel before that, but take note of this song. Hi all and welcome to the Truth, Honour and Integrity show. My name's Thomas Williams. We have a little bit of intel before we go in to the Clowns in Panic. Timing is everything, and I don't think it's a coincidence that we're rerunning this show now. There's a lot going on. We've spent a lot of time this week fighting for we the people, 25 hours out of 45 on certain things for the benefit only of the people, whilst others play games, including alt media, and we'll get to them in a minute. They can carry on messing around with Spreaker, carry on messing around with MeWe, or altering figures and deleting subscribers. We don't care. I don't give a shit, personally. So you can carry on wasting all your resources. We'll carry on wrecking yours. Generals gathered in the masses, just like witches at black masses. Very fitting, that song. But the generals around the world, not just American, as they all work together as part of the clown structure, whether that's American, Russian, Chinese, Israeli, Iran, you name it. They all work together. And on Saturday, they declared global martial law between them, with no apparent plan to enforce it or act upon it. They were all reminded that they would not be in control of it. They cannot declare martial law and be in control of it. So what kind of martial law were we looking at? Well, in America alone, it would have meant UN and FEMA goons arresting and shooting Americans is what? Fact, not fiction. The group known as the Black Rock, Black Dragon, Blackwater, Black Trust, even all the colour-coded programs that they have, are putting the heat on the government along with the banks, and they raised a total of $62 billion. To put that into perspective, that $62 billion would run out by spending of the US government alone by noon on Saturday in one single week. And between them, they are planning to buy up America for pennies on the dollar and sell it to a Chinese consortium, not the government, for $2 trillion. What is the figure of the stimulus bill? $2 trillion. You're seeing the picture now. On Tuesday, the Democrats tried to renew the contract for the Fed to carry on the old system. That failed. They're also trying to create the digital dollar. That failed. And now the Marshall Plan is in the stimulus bill. But the Marshall Plan can only be ran by one group, not theirs. The 500 billion that was within the bill was for the Federal Reserve to bail out the banks and liquidate things. That was not part of the stimulus plan. Kim arranged for a deal with the US government, direct, for $2.5 trillion for a range of things that we've covered in previous shows, and told Mr. Trump how to deliver it. And the funds were transferred, plus the 2% trust fee, which is separate. That is paid by the trust, not the government, for administrative costs. And we waited, and we waited, and the hacking blocks went on, and so the funds were not released and were all pulled back. The banks lied to the president, all of them. There is no stimulus plan without the trust. There will be no virus relief checks. There is no universal basic package. All of the X-billions or trillions proposals on TV or the media are all total BS, no matter who says it. Zip. Nada. There are no funds until they pay the trustee. None. And once all grasp and understand that as a fact, then we can quit with the BS and the fear-based nonsense. Instead of following the plan that Kim and I came up with of how to deliver the relief, the clowns decided they were going to use the IRS, who are now closed. Why? Because it's payback time, isn't it? A lot of people get refunds coming up shortly. I wouldn't expect them for many months. Keeping hold of the funds. Word on the back channels is they are planning, listen closely, to close all banks in 10 days' time to rectify the changes made to the front side of the banking system and put it back to them controlling it again. There's only one problem with that. What are they controlling? Because there's no funds. And it's further proof of what we have already achieved. The time estimate for the banks being closed is 5 weeks, or early May, which probably is leading up to another one of their fake ceremonies or moon-based cycles. So here's the gist of what's going on, and the alt media role in it. It's important. Drake has outed himself with that mass arrest and martial law plan, like Keenan did when he read out that speech in May of 2016. Keenan's speech was actually an Asian faction document that was sent to the American government as a threat against America a few weeks earlier, and I had read it 5 to 6 weeks previous to Keenan. I knew what it was. The only groups who are pushing for martial law is the Rothschilds and the Black Sun groups. Now we counteracted that, as Kim is the top rank of security clearance on the planet, and so we would be in control of martial law, not them. At that point, we would have won. Now they both pulled back when they found out about Kim as the lead role. Clearly they're deaf as well as stupid. And neither Trump or some of the government people want martial law, only clowns and their fake white hats. Drake, being aware of that plan, is now confirmed as a member of the Black Sun group, aligned with his links to the OTO and the Hermetic Golden Dawn groups, and it confirms he is in league with the Black Sun organisation. The Black Sun wants martial law, arrests, banks to go down, and markets to go down. Now the last three all sound so nice and great to a largely naive alt media outside of this show, but they will replace it, not for the people, but a worse version than currently. The only group at the top level fighting for humanity is Kim, the Trust, and I. That is it. I wish it wasn't the case. I wish I was wrong. But I'm not. Fact. There are no white hats, no alliance, no SSP, no mass meditation groups, no 144,000 Yahweh followers either. All are fake supporting casts for the dark elements in a Groundhog Day style stage play. And I wish people would listen more and come to their own conclusions. The alt media is now corrupt and or dysfunctional at 99% now, and I hope people are starting to see it for themselves. The alt media has suddenly become part of the intel. Why? Because I've been saying since 2014 it's corrupt. People are no different on all levels. Outside of this group, I have not observed, witnessed, or been told of one revolutionary act of going against the system. Not one. All complied with the fake virus narrative. Whether it's an exercise or not, the people complied. No plans. A load of flip-flopping show hosts. Fear, fear and more fear. Let's all stay in our homes and keep the 6-foot social distancing rules. Let's all be nice puppets. Social distancing is social engineering of the public. If it works once, they will repeat it with greater measures. And do not overlook the fact that they stated 6 feet as a distance. It's the same distance as people being buried. It is metaphorical and it's all in your face. Alt media idiots running around thinking it's 2014 again, and many complied. Don't believe me? Fine. OPPT mentioned again. Drake, mass arrests. Nasara happening. Jessara happening. 800 numbers happening. Universal basic income happening. Do you know what that really stands for? Universal basic income. Stay stupid, do nothing, and be a nice slave program, whilst we replace you with robots. And once completed, we get deleted. Fact. Mass meditations all over the alt media are a come-by-our style events that never fixed anything in the 60s and it won't now. They are encoded with misdirect as no one understands the seeding within that practice. The virus BS has all the hallmarks of the fears surrounding Jade Helm. Did anyone notice that? No, people too busy focusing on BS by and large, and even some within our own group. Do you want to know why they've closed down industry and put more people into debt, poverty and strife? Which is what's going on now. So they can keep hold of the few remaining funds. Work it out. They've just cancelled thousands of people's jobs, and we complied. For a virus that has killed 10,500 people globally, which is less than the population of the small town I live in, which is one town out of 33,000 in America alone, in one state out of 50, in one country out of 209, on one continent out of 7. For a virus that only kills people with preconditions, if we are to believe their official version. Yet where is their proof? Does anyone ask? No, they only ask Kim or I for proof. Virus my arse. They are the fucking virus. Do you not see that yet? They are the virus. And we have allowed them to take our jobs, lifestyles and freedoms away in a giant Ponzi scheme of bullshittery. You do realise half of those companies are not going to recover. Don't you? All the gains made by the people and they and the alt media all jumped to their tune, and we are set back again years in terms of energy vibration. Not one alt media has spoken of the energy vibration aspect. Because what THI and other people and groups were doing was combining their PSI fields to a greater cause. And the people have allowed them to take that off them and reduce them to babbling, flip-flopping, doubting, fear-based and lost children running around with zero direction, zero motivation and zero drive. This whole exercise has proven people will, by and large, rely on their government to tell them what to do, when and why. And the evidence of the so-called awake groups shows me we're no different in overview. The alt media, let me remind you of what it's supposed to stand for. It's supposed to stand against tyranny, injustice and overarching bureaucracy. And with one move, the majority outside of this group all jumped like puppets, bar a handful of real revolutionaries. Can people not see they're marching you into the pit? Only this group has said, do not comply. Do the conga and stick their social distancing up their ass. If we're going to achieve what we set out to do, more have to show a real backbone. Real patriots, real militia, real awake people all sacrificing for the greater good, not jumping out at the first opportunity and playing hide and seek on social media. Yes, you, Randy Morgans. Weak flip-flopping is not the order of the day. It requires many leaders to stand up and fight. It requires a focus, a direction, a commitment and an inner strength. Putting yourself on the line for the greater good. In a fight that's not just for you and your family now, but for the future of our whole species. Keep this piece in context and combine it with the information that follows in this show. These are judgment days. And you have to decide for yourselves what is your and our path is. Sovereignty or perpetual slavery. Choose wisely. Hi all, and welcome to the Clowns in Panic Revisited. Fairly heavy opening, but it needs to be said. And it's up to us. Couple of comments on the chat. We must have hope somewhere. Yes, you are the hope. That's it. How many other people are the hope? How many other people can transmute that hope into reality? Complying with clown orders, no matter who it comes from, is not the way forward. In that last song, Poison Stand, it says, express yourself in the face of change. Repress yourself, you will surely seal your fate. And these are the times we're in. Now, I've spent many years warning the alt media about cryptocurrencies, blockchain technologies, and at times I've received abuse in return for warning people of the stupidity of this program. Bitcoin was launched in 2009 by the same people who destroyed the banking with their greed, just 2 years after Marduk cut them all off from the trust, which then led to a global financial meltdown, of which, despite what media and politicians' spin machines run with, we've not recovered from. I said 5 or 6 years ago who was behind it, and some didn't listen. The same two who were behind the alt media BRICS nonsense, with the same narrative that Bitcoin and BRICS was somehow getting around the system. No, both were started by the Rothschilds and Rockefellers along with the Black Sun Group. On the Bitcoin it says digital, decentralizing, peer-to-peer. Those three groups of words are the key. All digit al. Or is it digit AI? Decentralized means trimming the fat. Peer-to-peer means it's going to connect us all to the Skynet. And new AI because we removed the old one. And if people had any doubts or wanted more confirmation of the work Kim and I have done with the banking systems, eliminating backdoors, clearance accounts, dodgy software, kickback compliance groups, binary codes, and their overall control of it, now rendered mute, and they now rely only on phone calls to block the trust transfers, then this proposal and system that they are offering up to the public will make it very clear as to how far we have come and how they no longer have control of anything. So they strive to create a new system for the same old program of harvesting everyone. This new program is far from just another outlet and control. This is sinister beyond the extreme, as I will lay it all out in this presentation, all based on their own words, plus our own intel and background knowledge to clarify where this is all leading to. Based on their own paper, I will dissect the whole document and give comments where necessary based on Facebook head freak Mark Zuckerberg with a silent F, which is a fake name anyway, which is common for these type of people, is it not? Why? Because they're all actors. Just like the Florida-based Russian linked to the Mueller investigation and the investigation of Roger Stone, Henry Okonyansky, whose real name, like Mark, is Greenberg. Born Jacob Michael Greenberg and the grandson of David Rockefeller, and yet again born in New York, and yet again born to Jewish parents. And I know some people don't like me repeating that, but it's so pervasive and damaging to not keep repeating it. It is a pattern, and patterns connect dots. And if we have new listeners to this, check out my series From Russia with Love if you think I'm anti-Jewish. Far from it. Now some will say this is part of the start of the New World Order. For those waiting or preventing the New World Order, newsflash, it started in 1776, done by Crown agents. And they tell you on the people's new god, the Federal Reserve Note. Notice in the base of the pyramid the Roman date MDCCLXXVI, which is written in Roman numerals for the year 1776. The words Annuit Coptis Novus Ordo Seclorum are Roman Latin for the announcing the birth of the new order of the world. Right on your dollar bill. And because researchers are working out their hidden meanings now, all searches on it state that Novus Ordo Seclorum means new order of the ages. Yeah, right. Spin it whichever way you want, it's the same meaning. And you can guarantee they will throw a Latin-based script on this new currency design also. Maybe they already have. But that actual phrase comes from a reference to the fourth eclogue of Virgil. And here is the quote in English. Now is come the final era of Sibyl's song. Sibyl was another one of the fake prophecy agents in Greece, misrepresenting Apollo at the Delphi. The great order of the ages is born afresh. Now justice returns. Their justice is the scale of Thoth. Egyptian-based symbology again. Honoured rules return and return of Saturn's reign. Now a new lineage is sent down from high heaven. All in the words. Medieval Christians read Virgil's poem as a prophecy of the coming of Christ, although how they associate Satan with Christ is beyond me, but then that book is riddled with inconsistencies and total BS in my opinion. And based on that wording, they were waiting for Satan, not Christ. Satan, which is set Typhon to return. And that particular entity was deleted back in autumn of 2015, and the following agent to replace that entity was blocked. Hello, Shane. Why did I reference Crown agents and America? Remember, it was originally the 13 colonies or states, and then look at the Bitcoin logo. And in this show tonight, I will highlight a sinister plot of lasting implications that will guarantee an end to freedoms as we know it, and give the future of our species, the children and the grandchildren, no chance whatsoever in the future. So here is what I've put out previously, that this program is based on data mining all people. They reveal it all in doublespeak, anyway, in their manifesto. Currently 1.7 billion the planet not only doesn't have access to financial services, but they are not recorded in the data mining AI database. Why? Because they don't have a phone. Remember, they were giving out free phones to the low income people a few years back, and people thought, wow, that's nice. Like hell it is. They always have motives, and we have to learn to be smarter than that. Smart people, not smart phones. Here, have a nice new shiny object that we gave you or sponsored is a seducement with a dark agenda every single time. These people have never, and I will repeat, never done anything of benefit for humanity, only themselves. I did a piece in the March 14th show last year called Boundless Informant. Please check that out for greater details on that. But this whole program was started back in 1993, Bitcoin data mining, when the CIA agent Robert David Steele appeared to leave the agency only to set up a company called Open Source for a private venture. It is and was not a private venture. This is known as private contracting, while still attached to the main body of the agency under a cloud, pardon the pun, of secrecy. Now, given I know where this Bitcoin blockchain technology started, via the CIA and NSA, all designed to trick the people again, just like encryption. Another way people say they can get round their system. Nope. All encryption came out of Langley with backdoors. All of them. And it's safe to say Robert David Steele is working with rogue elements of Langley 2 in particular, a breakaway group of National Zionists. And the NSA to bring down the people and drivers into an Orwellian society of Big Brother on steroids. So here is a comment taken from Robert David Steele's website. Quote, "For just $3 billion a year, I could internationalize US education." We don't need your education. "Provide free, on-demand learning via cell phones to the 5 billion poor." Unquote. Or this, "For the $500 billion we have wasted in Iraq, I could have given every single one of the 5 billion poor a free cell phone and operated it from an abandoned DoD communications satellite, free T1 connectivity." Unquote. Free phones. Woo. Ultra fast download speeds for my mind control video games. And people again oblivious to the program. The 5 billion poor would actually like some food, clean water, energy, clothing and shelter, not a stupid data mine and phone, Mr. Steele. You cannot eat phones. So Steele formed and operated a company that ultimately helped draft the NATO Open Source Intelligence Handbook. And this was Steele's own words, that open source is for NATO, which is the new private army of the Rothschilds. Why? Because the US military and the apparatus is too expensive now, and they are planning to replace it. So Steele formed Open Source Solutions Inc., which Steele describes as a pioneering open source intelligence, OSINT firm. OSINT is a term used to refer to data collected from publicly available sources to be used in an intelligence context. Unquote. What is vague is what does publicly available sources entail, which is then transferred into an intelligence context. And the question is, how is that different to now? Would it be safe to ask why Mr. Steele drafted the open source technology for NATO? And since when have NATO been open with the public? Would it be prudent to ask why Mr. Steele set up that company and a 501c3 in Virginia, which of course houses the CIA, of which he states he is a former operator? Is that not a conflict of interest? Is it possible that it could be construed as a subsidiary of the CIA that could potentially get around certain restrictive government rules? And what this is telling you is that all people will be used as spies via phones and other methods. And again, a quote from Mr. Steele, data collected from publicly available sources to be used in an intelligence context. Now, there's a common theme of former, I wouldn't trust that word as far as I can throw it, agency people creating subsidiary private organisations. But essentially they operate on behalf of a central organisation, and this is why we have these NGO groups. They take the knowledge and expertise acquired within the agency and then run it with their own people, as it gets around all kinds of legal aspects, away from the glare of the government oversight, which is practically zero anyway, and allows them, with the installation of people who came from within their organisation, to operate privately and practically above the law. And this is the same way Five Eyes was operating, or Nine, until they all got their eyes poked out. And maybe this is why they're launching this program now. One has to ask, as we're all learning, but there are little to no coincidences in life. And the common problem in people I see is people do not grasp the depravity and underhandedness these people operate by. Technology is always the future. There is no new technology. All of it is from the past. And people think, well, they won't spy on me, I'm not a radio show host or a public figure. Wrong thinking. They've been spying on you your whole life via chips in credit cards, the TV, computers, mobile phones. Then they brought out the recording devices, all of which is loaded into the AI to mimic who you are. And yet people rushed out and bought those spying and recording machines because it was all good fun. Wrong again. Badly wrong. Alexa machines are spying, recording and readying to clone you. You are not as awake as you thought if you bought one of them. Recently we ran a story of people applying for visas for travel, and they had to hand over 5 years' worth of all social media details. This is for their database expansion, and it will link your social credit profile to your money and finances. Are you connecting the dots now? They start off with an off-the-wall program to test to see if the public will react. Usually they don't, as we've found out in the past week or so, as they think it doesn't affect them, and that's their thinking process. Except these people don't think at all, and are beyond stupid and negligent. So with no public reaction, it then gets launched into other aspects of society, at which then only the few complain. But by that time it's all too late. And this has to be nipped in the bud now. A well-funded research group known as Insurge Intelligence, a new crowd-funded investigative journalism project, broke the exclusive story of how the United States intelligence community funded, nurtured and incubated Go Ogle as part of a drive to dominate the world through control of information. Seed funded by the NSA and CIA, well, I never. You want proof? There it is. Go Ogle was merely the first amongst a plethora of private sector startups co-opted by the US intelligence to retain information superiority. Like I said in that Boundless Informant piece, all done by the CIA, NSA and alleged private contractors like Robert David Steele. Remember Jade Helm? Mentioned it earlier. Let's look at that again, shall we? With new eyes and ears, and hopefully a better understanding. Jade Helm, Joint Assistant for Development and Execution, is a documented military battlefield procedure where advanced artificial intelligence is used to seek out and capture, destroy the perceived enemy. Jade, an artificial intelligence software program, AI. The DoD's Global Information Grid is the primary framework for network-centric warfare developed by BBN Technologies, Raytheon, in conjunction with DARPA. The DoD is developing SWS, Sentient World Simulation, a program to mirror all real-world individuals so they can decide what you think. Sound familiar? It should do. Still think voice recognition gadgets are good for you? They're using Amazon, not Microsoft or Go Ogle, to run the program for the world brain. Again, taken from the aptly named website of Steele, OSS.net. OSS. Stating, Amazon, not Google, is positioned to be the hub of the world brain, the service of common concern that integrates social networks, sense-making tools, and unlimited access to substance. All information in all languages, all the time. In other words, a complete spy and data mining program to be expanded out across the globe. But it's kind of interesting terminology Mr. Steele used there, and also indicative. Unlimited access to substance. Substance, by description, means the real physical matter of which a person or thing consists and which is tangible. A solid presence. In other words, they are using their us for their machine again, just like the old AI. And the fact that they are creating a new one confirms what I've said. The old one has gone, does it not? And essentially this is a sugar-coated program to bring down big government. The current model of intelligence agencies, the Pentagon, the military, and save costs. So why save costs? Is that for the benefit of the people? No. It's because the old system has collapsed and their expenditures run too high for them to carry on. So all you pen-pushing clowns with badges on your shoulders, you're going to get replaced. Steele's own manifesto starts talking about poverty and all things green, eliminating wars, education, disease, crime, and it all sounds very nice and appealing to the average person who is unable to see behind the smokescreen, but thankfully some of us do. And the classic line in that manifesto was, preventing terrorism. A CIA operative talking about preventing terrorism. Too funny. Given it was in part created by the very organisation of who Robert David Steele operates for. The CIA, formerly OSS, aka Nazis, which is not German, it is National Zionism. And how ironic, Steele's website is called OSS.net, which is the former name of the CIA, ran by the paperclip crew. Now, the Skynet, which was formulated as fiction in the Terminator movies, now it proposed to become real and operated by the OSS. And they will use the alt media to support them with citing government, agency and military corruption, which they created, then create a new system that is far worse than the old one, which the bot-like public will blindly follow, as we have to eliminate all these sharks. But it's not for our benefit they are eliminating them. It is for their benefit. And remember the Shane quote, they are trimming the fat. Not for our benefit, theirs. So Steele and his core pirate establishment agency-based sponsors are promoting a shiny new toy that on the face of it appears to offer hope and new direction, but is essentially the same old, same old. Except this vision is far worse than people can imagine on a base level. Now, when we did this show last year, both Randy Morgans and I offered Robert David Steele an open invitation to come on our programme with us and answer the many deep questions we have of his role in all of this, to find out the real intentions and to be honest and upfront with us and the alt media. As a public figure, you have an obligation of accountability to go on all programmes others refuse to ask. And we may be completely wrong, we're not. And your intentions are not as laid out, but that is up to you as a public figure to allay those concerns, is it not? And we said at the time, a failure to contact us and arrange a show, answer the questions and put over your side of the story will render you complicit in dire actions against humanity. Predictably, Mr. Steele went missing. Right, we're going to go into the Libra white paper released by Zuckerberg with a silent F and its directives, and I will be chiming in on breaking it down and making it easier to understand and getting away from the doublespeak and BS. So Libra's mission is to enable a simple global currency and financial infrastructure that empowers, it says, billions of people. And this document outlines our plans for a new decentralized blockchain, a low volatility cryptocurrency and a smart contract platform that together aim to create a new opportunity for responsible financial services innovation. Oh dear. Now, the Pindar had a habit of launching things coded under astrological signs. So there's a red flag right off the bat. Libra. The term decentralizing means unhooking from the old system and they create a new one that they run. So they issued what is called a problem statement. In our terms, we would call it the spin. The advent of the internet and mobile broadband has empowered billions of people globally to have access to the world's knowledge and information, high fidelity communications and a wide range of lower cost, more convenient services. Convenient being the operative word. It will be our death knell if we don't take control of convenience. Doesn't work for us. These services are now accessible using a $40 smartphone from almost anywhere in the world. This connectivity has driven economic empowerment by enabling more people to access the financial ecosystem, appealing to the green people. Working together, technology companies and financial institutions, both of which they used to own, and also find solutions to help increase economic empowerment around the world. But despite this progress, large swathes of the world's population are still left behind, and 1.7 billion adults globally remain outside of the financial system with no access to a traditional bank because they created that, is why the haves and the have-not system. So billions of people don't have enough to live, never mind put money in a bank. They created that system. Even though 1 billion have a mobile phone now and nearly 500 million have internet access, and now you know why they're rolling out the real reason for 5G. It is for this purpose on all phones of all of us getting data mined. Everyone's talking about frequencies this and frequencies that. The speeds are for us to be data mined. For too many, parts of the financial system look like telecommunication networks pre-internet. And they control that as well. Well, the military do. And 20 years ago, the average price to send a text in Europe was 16 cents per message. Now everyone with a smartphone can communicate across the world for free with a basic data plan. Back then, telecommunication prices were high but uniform, whereas today, access to financial services is limited or restricted for those who need it the most, those impacted by cost, reliability and the ability to seamlessly send money. Conveniently forgetting it is they who created those problems of overcharging, denying services and technology, and it was they who created fake bank clearance accounts and backdoors so people couldn't send money seamlessly. On they go. All over the world, people with less money pay more for financial services. Hard-earned income is eroded by fees, from remittances and wire costs to overdraft and ATM charges. Payday loans can charge an annualized interest rate of 400% or more, and finance charges can be as high as $30 just to borrow $100. Which again, they conveniently left out. It was them who created all those charges and fees. When people are asked why they remain on the fringe of existing financial system, those who remain unbanked, as they call it, point to not having sufficient funds. Go figure, Sherlock. high and unpredictable fees, banks being too far away and lacking the necessary documentation. Again, neglecting it was they who charged those fees, the finance charges and the fraudulent banking. Where look at it now. If you don't have $500 or $1,000 or $1,200, depending on which bank, in your account, we're going to charge you $15. Why don't you say if you have more than $1.5 million in the bank, we're going to charge you $50? Why are they charging the people who have less in the accounts to begin with? Because we allowed it. And now that they've lost control of the banking, suddenly all their shenanigans is deemed as a problem. And they're trying to dupe people into a new program with the seducement of cheaper fees and another example of their Ouroboros programs. Blockchains and cryptocurrencies have a number of unique properties that can potentially address some of the problems of accessibility and trustworthiness. These include distributed governance, which ensures that no single entity controls the network. That's a lie. Open access, which allows anybody with an internet connection to participate, and security through cryptography, which they say protects the integrity of the funds. Seriously, do they really expect us to believe that shit? No entity owns it. Open access means open source, and everybody participates. Security cryptography. Where did cryptography come from? The OSS. 1909, I think. Certainly that time period. And if it's also secure, what happened to all the coins stolen or lost in Canada then? And only one guy had the codes to get in, when they just said no single entity controls the network. Not all of us have short memories. But the existing blockchain systems have yet to reach mainstream adoption. Mass market usage of existing blockchains and cryptocurrencies has been hindered by their volatility and lack of scalability, which have so far made them poor stores of value and mediums of exchange. So what they're saying there is they admit it's pants. Okay, on we go. Some projects have also aimed to disrupt the existing system and bypass regulation. Wonder who that is. As opposed to innovating on compliance and regulatory fronts to improve the effectiveness of anti-money laundering. We believe that collaborating and innovating with the financial sector, including regulators and experts across a variety of industries, is the only way to ensure that a sustainable, secure and trusted framework underpins this new system. This approach can deliver a giant leap forward towards a lower cost, more accessible, more connected global financial system. To stop money laundering, it says. You can't make this shit up. And what they are saying here is they have lost control of the banks and the money system. And they wish to create a new shiny one free of corruption. Yeah, right. Ran by the corrupt. So how can it be free of corruption? And this program is corruption on a massive scale that even goes beyond the banking corruption. It will bypass, because that's what they've just said, regulation that they created to keep it all in-house. In-house being the operative two words. For them, not us. Some projects have also been aimed to disrupt the existing system and bypass regulation. What they are saying there is they are creating a new system which they will control. But guess who they were referring to with that statement? The trust. In this, the next phase of their document called the opportunity. As we embark on this journey together, we think it is important to share our beliefs to align the community and ecosystem we intend to spark around this initiative. You can stick your journey where the sun don't shine, and you can all ride the sunshine bus, because we're not. Item 1. We believe that many more people should have access to financial services and to cheap capital. What that means is quantitative easing and leads to inflation, which is a hidden tax. 2. We believe that people have an inherent right to control the fruit of their legal labour. What that means is it's only taken them thousands of years to realise that, and either way they're lying. 3. We believe that global, open, instant and low-cost movement of money will create immense economic opportunity and more commerce across the world. That means we keep control again. 4. We believe that people will increasingly trust decentralised forms of government. What that is saying is the seducement of we will bring down government and the banks because our costs are too high now, and we also lost access to the banking system. That's what that is telling you. 5. We believe that a global currency and financial infrastructure should be designed and governed as a public good. No shit, Sherlock. 6. We believe that we all have a responsibility to help advance financial inclusion, support, quote, ethical actors, and continuously uphold the integrity of the ecosystem. Nice terminology. Ethical actors. Either way, all of that sounds very nice, but all of it is bollocks. All of it. They went on. The world truly needs a reliable digital currency and infrastructure that together can deliver on the promise. Here we go. The promise again, 2 weeks tomorrow, of the Internet of Money. The world doesn't need it. They do. Securing your financial assets on your mobile device should be simple and intuitive. Moving money around globally should be as easy and as cost-effective as, and even more safe and secure than, sending a text message or sharing a photo, no matter where you live, what you do, or how much you earn. New product innovation and additional entrance to the ecosystem will enable the lowering of barriers to access and the cost of capital for everyone, and facilitate frictionless payments for the people, or more of the people. All the globe banking on their hackable, corrupted phones via their installed security certificates. Yeah, like that's going to work. create frictionless payments for people. There they go again, stating payments should go from point A to point B, whilst it was they who installed software to ensure all payments went between 6 and 13 entry points before arriving to the payee. And now Kim has cleaned all that up. Suddenly they don't like that version, and let's create another one that they can control. But what about all the high-profile data breaches involving several of their high-profile companies? Are we just supposed to overlook or forget that? They're trying to put all the banks on your phone. So on they go. Now is the time to create a new kind of digital currency built on the foundation of blockchain technology. The mission for Libra is a simple global currency and financial infrastructure that empowers billions of people. There they go again. Empowers in their legalese terms means strip and harvest the people more. And Libra is made up of 3 parts that will work together to create a more inclusive financial system. 1. It is built on a secure, scalable and reliable blockchain. Oh dear. About as reliable as the French and Italian tanks in World War II. They only went backwards. 2. It is backed by a reserve of assets designed to give it an intrinsic value. Except they have no assets. 3. It is governed by the independent Libra Association tasked with evolving the ecosystem. So why are they suddenly wanting to empower billions after they've lost control of the financial system? What did they do with the trust money previously? And also it should be noted, it's their terminology, backed by a reserve, federal or otherwise, governed by an independent Libra Association, which means the hidden sharks time again. So the Libra currency is built on the Libra blockchain because it is intended to address a global audience. The software that implements the Libra blockchain is open source. Robert David Steele again. And they say it's designed so that anyone can build on it and billions of people can depend on it for their financial needs. They say, imagine an open, interoperable ecosystem of financial services that developers and organizations will build to help people and businesses hold and transfer Libra for everyday use. But the people and businesses outside of their very small inner circle will not be able to hold it. Fact. With the proliferation of smartphones and wireless data, increasingly more people will be online and able to access Libra through these new services. To enable the Libra ecosystem to achieve this vision over time, the blockchain has been built from the ground up to prioritize scalability, security, efficiency in storage and throughput, and future adaptability. And they said in their manifesto, keep reading for an overview of the Libra blockchain or read the technical paper. The technical paper is more legalese, doublespeak and code for blah 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 blah. The unit of currency is called the Libra. Libra will need to be accepted in many places and easy to access for those who want to use it. In other words, people need to have confidence that they can use Libra and that its value will remain relatively stable over time. Unlike the majority of cryptocurrencies, Libra is fully backed by a reserve of real assets. A basket, this is their real assets, a basket of bank deposits and short-term government securities will be held in the Libra reserve for every Libra that is created, building trust in its intrinsic value. The Libra reserve will be administered with the objective of preserving the value of Libra over time. So they say. The only problem is they don't have any assets. And the key line in that is using a basket of bank deposits and short-term government securities. So the assets they are intending to use here are the people's own bank deposits and government securities, which are bonds. So we're back to war bonds again, which are IOUs and debt instruments. Really. This shiny new system resembles their old failed model. And essentially what it's saying, we're going from the Federal Reserve to the Libra or Libra Reserve with the same clowns that ruined and harvested everything to begin with. Don't believe me? Check out this next line. The Libra Association is an independent, not-for-profit membership organisation headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland. Oh my, Rothschild's Central is going to house it. The association's purpose is to coordinate and provide a framework for governance for the network and reserve and lead social impact grant making in support of financial inclusion. And this white paper, they say, is a reflection of its mission, vision and purview. Toilet paper is also white and you wipe your arse with it to get rid of the shit. And this needs to go the same way, down the toilet. The association's membership, they say, is formed from the network of validator nodes that operate the Libra blockchain. So the defunct Federal Reserve New York, now moving to Rothschild's Central Switzerland, the land of so-called neutrality, and neutrality in their world means they can do whatever they like as no rules apply to them. So let's look at a description of the terms they know, no one or few understand. A mining node is a node which contributes to the network by guessing the combinations needed to seal the blocks of transactions and thus confirm them, producing new bitcoins in the process. A validation node is a node which validates this information, makes sure it's true and passes the information along to other nodes, thus enabling the transfer of monetary value from location A to location B. Mining nodes are a subset of validation nodes because every mining node is also a validation node. See again, babble and doublespeak. Members of the Libra Association will consist of geographically distributed and diverse businesses, non-profit and multilateral organisations, and academic institutions. Oops. The initial group of organisations will work together on finalising the association's charter and become, quote, founding members. Upon its completion are by industry, and none of which will be from ordinary people, I might add, and most of it will be ran by the people from New York, born to Jewish parents, as you have all found out. Academic institutions will run it. Oh my. Like Yale, Harvard, Stanford and Tavistock. And who are these founding members? Non-profit foundations like the Clintons and the various other tax-free foundations that these elite people have dotted all over the world. Correct. So the payments, it is said, will be by MasterCard, PayPal, PayU, which is NASPA's and an arm of FinTech, who are the rogue elements out of the Treasury, Stripe, Visa. The technology and marketplaces will be Booking Holdings, eBay, Facebook and Calibra, Farfetched, Lyft, Mercado Pago, Spotify AB, Uber Technologies Inc., and the telecommunications Iliad, oh dear, Mossad, Vodafone Group. The blockchain will be Anchorage, Bison Trails, Coinbase Inc., Zappo Holdings Limited. The venture capital, Andreessen Horowitz. Mr. Anderson looks like one of the Conehead people to me, and is responsible for many of the popular apps on the internet. Breakthrough Initiatives. That particular group are a group who received $100 million from the US government to start up for SETI, the search for ETs. The jackasses are that stupid, they don't realise they're all below your feet. All 39 of them searching for ETs. Ribbit Capital, Thrive Capital, hello Mr. Kushner, and Union Squares Ventures. The non-profit and multilateral organisations and academic institutions are Creative Destruction Lab, Kiva, Mercy Corps and Women's World Banking. We hope to have approximately 100 members of the Libra Association by the target launch in the first half of 2020. They lie. They've been planning this a long time and it's all in place, as I will prove later. We'll be back shortly. Hi all and welcome back. Clown to the left, Rothschild. Clown to the right, Black Sun. Stuck in the middle with a pair of who are complete and utter psychopaths. But we fight on. And we are winning. Which is why they're rolling out these manifestos for Libra and changing this and wanting to rejig the front side of the banking. That will fail. Rest assured. So the Facebook teams, as I said, played a key role in the creation of the Libra Association and the Libra blockchain, working with other founding members. While final decision-making authority rests with the association, Facebook is expected to maintain a leadership role through 2019. That failed. Facebook created Calibra, a regulated subsidiary, there's that word again, to ensure separation between social and financial data and to build and operate services on its behalf on top of the Libra network. So Libra goes to Calibra, is building a new central bank. Calibra means third person. Singular, if first person is someone telling you his or her story, and second person is you being told how you should do something. Then third person is more like a camera recording events. The AI. It's all in the words. Once the Libra network launches, they say, Facebook and its affiliates will have the same commitments, privileges and financial obligations as any other founding member. As one member amongst many, Facebook's role in governance of the association will be equal to that of its peers, except Mr. Greenberg will play a larger role than most as a Rockefeller, along with the Rothschildian family. Blockchains are described as either permissioned or permissionless in relation to the ability to participate as a validator node. In a permissioned blockchain, access is granted to run a validator node. In a permissionless blockchain, anyone who meets the technical requirements to run a validator node in that sense. But Libra will start as a permissioned blockchain. There's that hidden language again. They will decide if you get permission to access your account, is what they're really stating here. Orwell, anyone? To ensure that Libra is truly open and always operates in the best interests of its users, our ambition is for the Libra network to become permissionless. They lie, as this next sentence will show. The challenge is that, as of today, we do not believe there is a proven solution that can deliver the scale, stability and security needed to support billions of people and transactions across the globe through a permissionless network. One of the association's directives will be to work with the community to research and implement this transition, which will begin within 5 years of the public launch of the Libra blockchain and ecosystem. There they go again, with the double speak again. The goal, they say, is to become permissionless. Then state, we do not believe there's a proven solution that can deliver to support a permissionless network. Oops. And the gist is, after 5 years of roping people in, they will announce it as a closed shop, system and network. It's how they work. Essential to the spirit of Libra in both its permissioned and permissionless state, the Libra blockchain will be open to everyone. You just said it didn't. Any consumer, developer or business can use the Libra network, build products on top of it and add value through its services. Well, they just said you have to have permission. That means it's not open to anyone, is it? Open access ensures low barriers to entry and innovation and encourages healthy competition that benefits consumers. benefits consumers. Clever play on words, that. Consumers. Suggesting it is we who are the consumers. No, it's them. Remember, it is they who consumed us. This is foundational to the goal of building a more inclusive financial options for the world. The goal of Libra blockchain is to serve as a solid foundation for financial services, including a new global currency which could meet the daily financial needs of billions of people. Only problem is, we have one of those now. It's called the banking system. Through the process of evaluating existing options, we decided to build a new blockchain based on these three requirements. Able to scale to billions of accounts, which requires high transaction throughput, low latency, and an efficient, high-capacity storage system. That's what they're asking for. Except we already have that now, as Kim has tidied it all up for you. So why do we need something new? Oh, I forgot. You got shut out of the people's banks and accounts is why. Oops. Point 2. Highly secure to ensure safety of funds and financial data. But let's use their own quote from the last piece to see if that is secure. Quote, "The challenge is that, as of today, we do not believe that there is a proven solution that can deliver the scale, stability, and security needed to support billions of people and transactions across the globe." Oops. Point 3. Flexible. So it can power the Libra's ecosystem governance as well as future innovation in financial services. The Libra blockchain is designed from the ground up to holistically address these requirements and build on the learnings from existing projects, nice word that, projects, right from Langley, and research, and a combination of innovative approaches and well understood techniques. That is doublespeak for trickery. That's what they're saying. Holistically term. Let's look at that for a meaning of where they're going with it. In a way that is characterized by comprehension of the parts of something as intimately interconnected and explicable only by reference to the whole. And what they're saying there is, they're trying to rope us all in. This next section, they said, will highlight the 3 decisions regarding the Libra blockchain using well understood techniques, which are only available and known to Langley agents, venture capitalists and Silicon Valley clowns. 1. Designing and using the Move program. Move IR is the compiler that compiles native scripts and modules all the way down to their bytecode representations. And they say, although it's human readable, it is not high level enough for a direct translation into the Move bytecode. Human readable is a strange term to use, is it not? Cannot be transferred again. Their words again. So how are they going to do it? By using a Byzantine fault-tolerant consensus approach. Byzantine is related to Byzantium, now Istanbul, which used to be Constantinople, the second Jerusalem, and was renamed to Istanbul in 1923. So there's that time period again in From Russia with Love 3 and 4. And remember, Russia was changed to USSR at the same time. And Constantinople was also the capital of the Roman Empire, the Byzantine Empire, or the Eastern Orthodox Church. Or let's look at another description of Byzantine: of a system or situation excessively complicated and typically involving a great deal of administrative detail. That is the description of Byzantine. They love their old systems and the names of the past, don't they? And this smacks of Babylon to me. The Babylon system. Groundhog Day again. Where it states it is excessively complicated, involving lots of administrative details. Well, that would describe the current governments, the CEOs and the middle management again, making money for doing nothing. Bureaucracy, typically involving a great deal of administrative detail. Bureaucracy, red tape. Only they understand it, you see. So Move is a new program language for implementing, they say, custom transaction logic. A bit like common sense, that's rare. And, quote, smart contracts on the Libra blockchain. Because of Libra's goal to one day save billions of people, Move is designed with safety and security as the highest priorities. Move takes insight from security incidents that have happened with smart contracts to date, and then creates a language that makes it inherently easier to write code that fulfills the author's intent. But when the author is the CIA, Silicon Valley, Rockefellers and Rothschilds, we should have a major concern over what their intent is. And they say they have to do this is thereby lessening the risk of unintended bugs or security incidents. What, like they used to put in all their old systems? They were the bugs and they were the security incidents. Specifically, Move is designed to prevent assets from being cloned. Oh my, too funny considering Rothschilds and their super notes, cloned notes. De La Rue mass duplicating notes already in circulation and issuing counterfeit currencies. It enables resource types that constrain digital assets to the same properties as physical assets. What they're saying there is they're going to leverage them again. That's what that means. A resource has a single owner. It can only be spent once, and the creation of new resources is restricted. By whom? Rhetorical question. I know. The Move language also facilitates automatic proofs that transactions satisfy certain properties, such as payment transactions only changing the account balances of the payer and receiver. And if you believe that, you'll believe anything. They had more backdoors in the old system than a council estate. 30,000+. By prioritising these features, Move will help keep the Libra blockchain secure by making the development of critical transaction code easier. Move enables the secure implementation of the Libra's ecosystem's governance policies, such as the management of the Libra currency and the network of validator nodes. Move will accelerate the evolution of the Libra blockchain protocol and any financial innovations built on top of it. And we anticipate that the ability for developers to create contracts will be opened over time in order to support the evolution and the validation of Move. But that developers will be the ones that only they approve of, all in-house again. To facilitate agreement among all validator nodes on the transactions to be executed and the order in which they are executed, the Libra blockchain adopted the BFT approach by using Libra BFT consensus protocol. BFT is Byzantine fault tolerant. This approach builds trust in a network because BFT consensus protocols are designed to function correctly, even if some validator nodes, up to 1/3 of the network, are compromised or fail. This class of consensus protocols also enables high transaction throughput, low latency and more energy efficient approach to consensus than proof of work used in some other blockchains. Proof of work. So let's look at what that means by description. A proof of work is a piece of data which is difficult, costly and time consuming to produce, but easy for others to verify and which satisfies certain requirements. I thought they said it was easier and cheaper earlier. So yet again, more doublespeak. In order to securely store transactions, data on the Libra blockchain is protected by Merkle trees. No, not that Merkle. A data structure used by other blockchains that enables the detection of any changes to the existing data. Now, unlike previous blockchains, which view the blockchain as a collection of blocks of transactions, the designer of this was Ralph C. Merkle, inventor of public key cryptography. Ralph C. Merkle. And if you check out his diagrams and then go and look at Robert David Steele's page, you'll find out where all that came from. So on the one hand, they said the data structure that was used by other blockchains enables the detection of any changes. And then they're saying, unlike previous blockchains, which view the blockchain as a collection of blocks, now it's not the same. Okay? I hope you're following this. While at Xerox PARC, P-A-R-C, Merkle designed, listen closely, the Khufu and Khafre block ciphers and the Snefru hash function. I told you they're not very original. There they go with their Egyptian connection again. So what is a hash tree? A hash tree is a tree of hashes in which the leaves are hashes of data blocks in, for instance, a file or a set of files. Nodes further up in the tree are the hashes of their respective children. Their description, not mine. For example, in the picture, hash 0 is the result of hashing the concatenation of hash 0-0 and hash 0-1. 1. That is, hash 0 equals hash 0 dash 0 and hash 0 dash 1. In other words, they say it's rolling out the binary code again. Why? Because we turned the banking into trinary code, which they couldn't read, only block. And our series recently of when not ones and zeros makes much more sense now on that piece, does it not? Khufu and Khafre block ciphers with zeros and 01s. The Libra blockchain is a single data structure that records the history of transactions and states over time. In other words, it's AI. This implementation simplifies the work of applications accessing the blockchain, allowing them to read any data from any point in time and verify the integrity of that data using a unified framework. For those of you who have watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I think it was in season 4, the framework term, or let's give it the correct term, frame world, will have greater meaning. Unified framework. The Libra blockchain is synonymous with and allows users to hold one or more addresses that are not linked to their real world identity. This is more double speak again. State everything will be clear and transparent, but allows people or entities to create blind accounts. Seriously, who wrote this shit? Non-real world entity. Their words, not mine. Here come the avatars. This approach, they say, is familiar to many users, developers and regulators. Yes, in their abstract world, but is not familiar to anybody in the real world of ignorance, zero knowledge and repeating script-based themes and memes. The Libra Association will oversee the evolution of the Libra blockchain protocol and network and will continue to evaluate new techniques that enhance privacy in the blockchain while considering concerns of practicality, scalability and regulatory impact. We've open sourced an early preview of the Libra testnet with accompanying documentation. The testnet is still under development and APIs are subject to change. So what they're telling you there is it's not ready. And the reason it's not ready is they don't have any funds. And they are relying on a gullible public to fund it. That's what they're telling you there. Our commitment is to work in the open with the community and hope you will all read, build and provide feedback. Which, like all of the companies nowadays, they will just ignore the feedback. We believe that the world needs a global, digitally native currency that brings together the attributes of the world's best currencies, with stability, low inflation, wide global acceptance and fungibility. Let's look at the word fungibility. Fungi is a law term of goods contracted for without an individual specimen being specified, able to replace or be replaced by another identical item, mutually interchangeable. Yet again, more babble, doublespeak, and again has all the echoes of cloned beings. The Libra currency is designed to help with these global needs, aiming to expand how money works for more people around the world. Libra is designed to be a stable digital currency. And that will be fully backed by a reserve of real assets, the Libra Reserve, and supported by a competitive network of exchanges buying and selling Libra. That means anyone with Libra has a high degree of assurance they can convert their digital currency into local fiat currency based on an exchange rate, just like exchanging one currency for another when travelling, except presumably at a rate they decided upon, implemented and fixed, like a certain rate with a similar name, LIBOR. This approach, they say, is similar to how other currencies were introduced in the past to help instill trust in a new currency and gain widespread adoption. During its infancy, it was guaranteed that a country's notes could be traded in for real assets such as gold. And by doing that, it meant that nobody can settle any debt, loan or mortgages, as they cannot be paid off with notes, only gold and silver. Instead of backing Libra with gold, they say, though it will be backed by a collection of low volatility assets such as bank deposits, no change there then, using the people's money, that's what they're telling you, and short-term government securities, again, no change there, either they are bonds and subsequently war debt instruments, and essentially they are IOU pieces of paper. And that's what they tell you is going to back this shit. The people's bank accounts. And war bonds again. In currencies, some stable and reputable central banks, according to them. Reputable central banks. These people are comedians. They're telling you here they are going to use your bank account as leverage to support their fake currency, your money, not theirs. It is important to highlight that this means one Libra will not always be able to convert into the same amount of a given local currency. What they're telling you there is Libra is not a peg to a single currency. Rather, as the value of the underlying assets moves, the value of one Libra in any local currency may fluctuate. This is to allow them to play inflation and deflation games again. However, the reserve assets are being chosen to minimise volatility, but they've just stated they have no assets, only the people's money and bond IOUs. So holders of Libra can trust the currency's ability to preserve value over time. But if you could pick one of these currencies up, you can't, and that's the whole point of it. I wouldn't trust it as far as I could throw it. The assets in the Libra Reserve will be held by a geographically distributed network of custodians, not the Guardian, with investment-grade credit rating to provide both security and decentralization of the assets. I guess we'll find out soon how good these self-appointed custodians are with investment-grade credit ratings. Read Snake Oil Salesman. The assets behind Libra are the major difference between it and many existing cryptocurrencies that lack such intrinsic value and hence have prices that have fluctuated significantly based on expectations. Which again, these clowns created it to do it that way. Push it up, get people to buy it at that, and then drop it down and then buy it cheaper. Just like the stock markets. Libra is indeed a cryptocurrency, which means it's a currency for dead people. Crypto means dead. And by virtue of that, it inherits several attractive properties of these new digital currencies. The ability to send money quickly, the security of cryptography, and the freedom to easily transmit funds across borders. So just as people can use their phones to message friends anywhere in the world today, with Libra the same can be done with money, instantly, securely, and at low cost. Except we can do all of that now, as Kim and the team has cleaned all the banks up for you. Interest, listen to this closely. Interest on the reserve assets will be used to cover the cost of the system, ensure low transaction fees, pay dividends to investors who provide capital to jumpstart the ecosystem. Well, the same investors who used our money via leveraging out of the banks will be getting all the payouts. Oh my. And that, they say, will support further growth and adoption. Yeah. The rules for allocating interest on the reserve will be set in advance and will be overseen by the Libra Association. So just like the Federal Reserve then. Users of Libra do not receive a return from the reserve. So in plain words, you will not get any interest from your crypto coins. That will be used to build and cover the costs of their system, which the people have already paid for, and then all dividends go to the self-appointed private association group members only, who we are told provided capital to jumpstart it. Given it came out of Langley and Silicon Valley et al. Via government grants, it means that we have already paid it. Wells de Fargo. Libra Association also serves as the entity through which the Libra Reserve is managed, and hence the stability and growth of the Libra economy are achieved. What like the stability and growth we received from the previous reserve, the federal one, really. The association is the only party able to create, mint, and destroy, burn Libra. Exactly like the Federal Reserve and the Rothschilds banking system now, via De La Rue. Coins are only minted when authorised resellers have purchased those coins from the association, exactly like the Fed, with fiat assets to fully back the new coins. In other words, like what they did with the dinars, dongs and zims, they will take our real current money and give us tokens, of which they determine the value of them. of which you will get no interest. That goes to them. Coins are only burned when the authorized resellers sell Libra coins to the association in exchange for the underlying assets. And how do we know whether they have burned them? What are you burning? Fresh air? Since authorized resellers will always be able to sell Libra coins to the reserve at a price equal to the value of the basket, the Libra reserves acts as a buyer of the last resort. These activities of the association are governed and constrained by a reserve management policy that can only be changed by a supermajority of the association members. Again, just like the Federal Reserve, all served by rogue, incestuous bloodline families, all deciding what is best for them, not us. An important object of the Libra Association is to move towards increasing decentralization over time. Again, more doublespeak. The current has been decentralized in many aspects. This recentralizing in the hands of even fewer clowns. That's what's going on now. It's the Rothschilds, or it's the Black Sun, or it's neither, and it's the trust. There are no other players. This decentralization ensures that there are low barriers to entry for both building on and using the network, and improves the Libra's ecosystem's resilience over the long term. As discussed above, the association will develop a path toward permissionless governments and consensus on the Libra network, which they've already stated they can't do. So it will always be permissioned. The association's objective will be to start this transition within 5 years, and in doing so will gradually reduce the reliance on the founding members. In the same spirit, the association aspires to minimize the reliance on itself as the administrator of the Libra Reserve. In other words, what they're saying there, once we, the gullible, have paid for it all, the system runs itself and the real tyranny begins. The machine will run it for them. It says there, reduce the reliance on the founding members and also on the Libra Reserve. So the AI runs the system. The Libra Association will create a framework for the collaborative development of the technology behind the Libra blockchain using the open source methodology. Open source, which we have paid for with our tax dollars from as far back as 1988 or even earlier via the CIA and the Robert David Steele project. Procedures will be created for discussing and reviewing changes to the protocol and software that supports the blockchain. We'll be back shortly, but this will really be heaven and hell. Hi all, and welcome back. The next part of this exposure, and doesn't really matter what it's called, Facebook, Libra, Calibra, or some other name, you always got to be wary of The names change, the programs doesn't. People die, the programs carry on. You know, and so this is involving all cryptos and all blockchain. The partners. One of the main partners to Libra, or the program, is Thrive Capital, ran by Joshua Kushner, brother of Jared Kushner. Oh dear. Another one of the partners of Thrive Capital is Jared Weinstein, who is a former government official, and he served as a special assistant and personal aide to George Walker Bush, 2006 through 2009. And prior to this post, he served as an aide to the White House Chief of Staff Andy Card and also Josh Bolton. And then after President Bush, Idiot Bush, left office, Weinstein served as a Deputy Chief of Staff in the office of George W. Bush in Dallas, Texas. Mr. Weinstein, born in Birmingham, Alabama. He's the son of Brenda and Steve Weinstein and members of the Birmingham Jewish community. In just 5 years, Thrive has become known as one of New York's top venture firms, thanks to splashy consumer web deals like Kickstarter, which is crowdfunding, yes, that's them as well, Warby Parker, the eyewear, Harry's Razors, Spotify streaming music, Whisper, which is an anonymous social network, Urban Compass, which is apartment hunting, and 53, which is creative software for mobiles. Oh my. Now the firm's exits include Twitch, the gaming community that was recently sold to Amazon for $1.1 billion, and also Instagram, the photo sharing app that sold to Facebook for $1 billion. Yet again, sharing the platform amongst friends, given the mention of Facebook and Amazon in the first part. And Thrive's investment thesis is about creation and destruction, Kushner says. Yes, their creation and our destruction. And they view New York as the key to the rest of the world. Indeed, Mr. Kushner, the head of the snake and the base of the New World Order, is why. Now, in the past year or so, they've raised $1 billion of capital, of which where it came from raises deep suspicions even amongst their own clientele. And specific questions about conflicts of interest stemming from a familial and business relationship with the White House advisor Jared Kushner, as well as Joshua Kushner's relationship with the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, were not answered on background or for the record. Second, in light of what's looking more and more like an extrajudicial killing of Jamal Khashoggi, the Saudi reporter for the Washington Post and dissident who resided in the United States, by assailants in the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, at least one of the venture investors is fielding questions from their portfolio companies about where all this capital came from. Now, given allegations that the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman may have ordered the killing of Khashoggi, he did, and Jared Kushner's close personal relationship with bin Salman, it appears investors wanted to know if Thrive Capital took the money from bin Salman or another source of Saudi sovereign wealth. The Saudi wealth capital is directly linked to the Bush cartel. Now, Kushner was reportedly interested in raising from investors in the region, and specifically Qatar, a strategic US ally with recently frosty relations to Saudi Arabia, which brings up the question on the new Saudi arms deal, does it not? That was about 12 months ago, I think. And is it possible, given Thrive Capital and links to the Kushners, is why Donald Trump won't release his financial statements? Question, not a statement. I would like to think otherwise, but like I've said all along, we can never fully trust a politician, particularly those based in high finance, legal or military backgrounds. They have to prove we can trust them. We should never just blindly accept it. Another partner, Ribbit Capital, which is run out of another den of iniquity, Palo Alto and Silicon Valley. Ribbit Capital is a venture capital firm that invests globally in unique individuals and brands, and in their own words, quote, who are aiming to disrupt financial services, unquote. Now you're seeing it, because it's happening as we speak. Remember, this show was done last year. Ribbit Capital, the financial technology investment firm whose portfolio includes hits like the no-fee mobile investment platform called Robinhood. Robinhood, more like Robin Bastards to me. Cryptocurrency wallets and marketplace provider Coinbase. Also Root Insurance, the automotive insurance platform that has just joined the billion-dollar startup club, is raising $420 million for its latest fund, according to a filing with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Now, Ribbit was the originator of over $2 billion worth of loans for Max Levchin's lending business, Affirm. So who is Max Levchin? Sounds Russian. Well, he co-founded with Peter Thiel the company that eventually became PayPal. Max was born in Ukraine, born to Jewish parents. Thiel created Palantir Technologies, which specializes in big data analytics, data mining in our terms. And who were the only organization to back Palantir? The CIA. It should also be noted that Palantir was in their dark magic wizardry epic Lord of the Rings. It was a crystal ball known as the Seeing Stone, which is a symbol of the capstone with an eye in it missing from the top of the pyramid, is it not? The all-seeing eye. AI. All in the symbolism, you see, and a play on words and letters. Now, Palantir has 3 platforms: Metropolis, Gotham, Foundry, and no surprise for the other name as or where it relates to for those familiar with our show. Palantir brings the data to life for human-driven analysis. Palantir, final word of those 3 platforms, is Palantir Gotham. Brings intelligence, people and data together to empower one another. And this ecosystem of data, capabilities and base platforms, whether it's the Palantir Gotham core, Palantir Foundry or both, augments the capability of the entire organization. Once you if anyone new is listening to this, you're really going to have to listen to the From Russia with Love, because what this is confirming so much of it. The two shows are in a way linked, as is the ones and zeros shows. But Gotham is New York, centre of the New World Order, and is also related to Batman, who, despite the film industry's flowering of him, is a dark elf. And those beings here have not been beneficial to humanity. Now, the next part may disturb or raise eyebrows in the alt media. The company that funded Palantir is the CIA's own venture capital firm called, wait for it, InQit, or known as InQtel. The name InQtel is an international reference to Q, the fictional inventor who supplies technology to James Bond, except it wasn't fictional. And he is the head of the Q branch, or later the Q division, and the fictional research and development division of the British Secret Service. OSS again. And also in that series was the hidden character, who was above all, including Q. That character was M, who is, now was, Marduk. So that whole piece there would suggest and confirm who is running America and the secret services, Britain and in particular GCHQ, of which NSA is a subsidiary of. And here is a quote from former CIA Director George Tenet. It says, "We, the CIA, decided to use our limited dollars," it wasn't limited at all, they had unlimited dollars and drugs and all kinds of other trafficking, to leverage technology developed elsewhere. In 1999, we chartered InQtel. While we pay the bills, InQtel is independent of the CIA. All the same as Robert David Steele and open source, is it not? CIA identifies pressing problems and InQtel provides the technology to address them. InQtel Alliance has put the agency back at the leading edge of technology. This collaboration, and who that collaboration is will be revealed later, enabled the CIA to take advantage of the technology that Las Vegas uses to identify corrupt card players and apply it to link analysis for terrorists. Now, the parallel data mining effort by the SOCOM-DIA operation called Able Danger. So the CIA ran the InQtel, and the SOCOM-DIA operation is called Able Danger. Oh dear. Another alt media name along with Project Camelot and Project Avalon are all CIA program names. Coincidence? You decide. And to adapt the technology that online booksellers use and convert it to scour millions of pages of documents looking for unexpected results. That is why they need the data mining. In-Q-Tel sold 5,636 shares of GoOgle, worth 2.2 million on November the 15th, 2005. And the shares were a result of GoOgle's acquisition of Keyhole Inc. Who funded them? The CIA. The CIA funded satellite mapping software, which is now known as Google Earth. Keyhole Inc. is the parent company of Alphabet Inc. And what are the intelligence agencies called? Alphabet agencies. Are you connecting the dots now? In-Q-Tel is a Virginia registered corporation. Again, just like Robert David Steele and his open source. Legally independent of the CIA or any other government agency. Again, just like Steele, is it not? And the corporation is bound by its charter agreement and annual contract with the CIA, which sets out the relationship between the two organisations. That's in the charter. They're bound to it and in annual contract with the CIA, proving what I said earlier about these supposed private organisations being set up as independent, but are really the front organisations for the CIA, just like Robert David Steele and his OSS group. Remember when Facebook took over from the CIA software program the very same day? The Pentagon's LifeLog spying on the public program, which was ran by DARPA, which is ran by the CIA. Facebook, Google, Twitter, YouTube, Silicon Valley and a plethora of venture capitalists are all subsidiaries of the CIA. LifeLog was said to be an ambitious effort to build a database tracking a person's entire existence. Run by DARPA, the Defense Department's research arm, LifeLog aimed to gather in a single place just about everything an individual says, sees or does. Says, sees or does. The phone calls people made, the TV shows people watched, the magazines people read, the plane tickets bought, the emails sent and the emails received. And out of this seemingly endless ocean of information, computer scientists would plot distinctive routes in the data, mapping relationships, memories, events and experiences. Cloning. LifeLog's backers said the all-encompassing diary could have turned into a near-perfect digital memory, giving its users computerized assistance with an almost flawless recall of what they've done in the past. Oh, how I would love to do that for every Langley agent. LifeLog sounds very similar to LifeLock, does it not? So let's look at what LifeLock does, which they say it prevents identity theft, but only after you've handed over all of your financial details. Now, LifeLock's parent company is Symantec, another company out of Silicon Valley, who is a subsidiary of Norton. Norton links back to IBM. And where did the fake quantum system that they were rolling out last year come from? IBM. IB Marduk, or I was Marduk. Then we have Dashlane, is a password manager app and a secure digital wallet. By default, the wallet is stored on the company's servers, but there's an option to keep it on the user's device instead. Digital wallet. Where is your bitcoins kept? In a digital wallet. You seeing the picture now? In 2010, Google and In-Q-Tel made a joint investment on a company called Recorded Future, which has the Minority Report style goal of creating a temporal analytics engine that scours the web and creates curves that predict where events may head. 2010. That is because their looking glass technology was failing and ultimately failed in 2012 is why. Google is already helping the government write and rewrite history. And here from its transparency report are some stats on the amount of information it is either given to the government or wiped from the web based on requests by US agencies. 4,601 requests from government agencies for user data. Google complied with government requests for user data 94% of the time. The other 6 will be their agents. You see, departments don't speak to each other. 1,421 requests for content removal. Google complied with content removal requests 87% of the time. 15 requests were from executive or the police, only one of which was a national security request. Now those figures were from 2010, and like you can see, out of 4,601 requests, only one of them was for national security. To these people, it is we the people that are the national security threat. Remember when idiot Bush Jr. said if we didn't support them, we are terrorists. And people need to understand war on terror is spelt with an A, not an OR. The perpetual war with no ending, they said. Think about that for a second. We are told the American military is the biggest, bestest, fastest and all most technological unit, and the war to clear the so-called terrorists will last forever. Why? Because in the past, the term war means banks can print bonds, which are IOUs. They collect all the funding against the IOUs and make we the people pay for them. Not no more they don't. That got blocked. Mercy Corps is another one on the list of partnerships with Libra, and I find Robert B. Zoellick on the board, former Secretary of State under Bush Jr. again, head of the World Bank and Managing Director of Goldman Sachs, amongst other debatable repute positions. Adrian Korecki, who is the Senior Vice President for Planned Parenthood, Craig Redmond, who worked with the UN, and Provash Budin, who worked for the UN and the World Bank. Gail Lemon, a senior fellow at the Council of Foreign Relations with the Women and Foreign Policy Programme, after working for nearly a decade as a journalist with the ABC News. George Papandreou has served as the 11th Prime Minister of Greece during the time Greece was crashing, because he was involved in it. Mohammed El-Erian, Chief Economic Advisor to Alliance with a Z. That's your real name of the fake alliance in the alt media. And he chairs President Barack Obama's Global Development Council and is also a columnist for Bloomberg View and a contributing editor to the Financial Times. Then we have Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, is a senior advisor at Lazard and a chair of the Global Alliance for Vaccines and Immunisation. And she was previously the Minister of Finance in Nigeria and the Coordinating Minister for the Economy in 2011 through 2015. Well, prior to this, she was the Managing Director of the World Bank. Same people, same clowns. And there are several other names with similar backgrounds of connections to globalist companies and or were tutored in Harvard or Yale. All jobs for the favoured boys and girls, you see. And then we come to another name that stood out because of that family name is familiar. Rand. Daphne H. Rand, and found that she is out of the US State Department and was copied in on several of the Hillary Clinton emails. And so it appears Mercy Corp is a subdivision of the Clinton Foundation, and also, given where their operatives are all stationed in war or famine-ravaged regions, operate like a mini UN group. Mercy Corp received in 2018 a total of $473 million for the year, $283 million of which were US government grants, with a further $116 million in other grants and interest earnings for the year of $25.3 million. Another one of the partners is FinTech. We covered them in the Intel probably about 15-18 months ago. And I found this piece on them. Algorithmic FinTech lending is less discriminatory against minorities than traditional loan officers, according to a recent study of US mortgages. Yet again, they're using that to seduce in the minorities. But like Obama, they'll give you nothing. The findings signal hope that technology could provide financing that's more fair, and FinTech startup Tally raised $50 million to automate people's finance. Upon researching this, I came across the name of Angela Strange, an investor at Andreessen Horowitz, who is another of the partners to Libra, and is another of the Silicon Valley venture capital firms. And this quote about meeting the owner of Tally, Jason Brown, Strange said she was drawn by his magnetic trust-building ability, and said it was a necessary quality as the company attempts to persuade people to let it take over their entire financial lives, unquote. All said again in their own words. Persuade people to let them snake oil people run our entire financial lives. And that's the gist of Bitcoin. Because you will have no control over it. A sign that this was in the planning years back. Here is the list of people connected to FinTech, which is short for financial tech, from 2017, all from the World Bank Group. Leora Clapper, yes, that name's familiar, they're all involved in it. Clapper has held government jobs in Washington, DC and Jerusalem. She was also in Israel, in the Bank of Israel, as well as having held private sector jobs for Peter L. Bernstein and the Salomon Brothers firm in New York. She lives in New York and was born to Jewish parents. Dorothy Singer from Holland works for the World Bank, who writes pieces on financial inclusion, ignoring the very people that she's aligned with are all about exclusion, not inclusion. Then we have Sania Ansar, a research, analysis and development group out of Pakistan. Again, she worked for the World Bank. And the next two will raise eyebrows. Jake Hess, again World Bank, who wrote a paper this year which is again interesting terminology and proof of no good, called Leveraging Digital Financial Solutions to Promote Formal Business Participation. Again, their words. Leveraging means using borrowed capital for an investment, expecting the profits made to be greater than the interest payable to use for gain. Exploit shamelessly, leverage the system to their advantage, which proves what I said earlier. They don't have the capital and they are swinging it onto the people who are signing off theirs and humanity with it. Now the final name that are connected to all this is a bit crude, but perhaps a fitting end to this piece on some of the partners that are involved here. There are many others. But this person has a double-barreled surname, who worked for the Fed and now works for the World Bank. Her name is Asli Demirjic Cunt. Fitting for all of them, not just that woman, if you ask me. Hi all and welcome back. We're not going to sit in silence, which is why I do this show. So summing up all that, it was a fairly comprehensive, in-depth piece, I'm sure you will agree. And this needs to go far and wide. Even now, was it 9 months after the original, it still applies. Whilst Libra itself has failed, the program remains the same. And it affects all of us globally. It's not just an American problem. This is going to go global. That is their plan. And it's the classic totalitarian creep with many of the hidden agendas of how they work that has been covered in several of our shows. What starts off or appears as something good, presented as an alternative, pushed into the alt media for support by agents who work for these global elites. There have been many of these types of programs ran, but this by far encompasses them all, and its wide-ranging overarching effects will not be felt until it's all too late. This has to be nipped in the bud now, not in 2 weeks, months or years, now. This program ran by the CIA, all of its subsidiaries, Rothschilds, Rockefellers, banking establishment, the Crown, venture capitalists, who were all carefully selected and put into place. The UN and the World Bank, IBM and Silicon Valley globalists is designed to all wrap us all into a new matrix of control. It is Big Brother on steroids and makes Orwell's world look like a week off at the beach. They use the alt media to drive it, as the alt media people, largely outside of this show and Alan's, have not stepped out of the sidetracking narrative of pre-2014. We mentioned it in the Intel piece. Still talking of RVs, Saint Germain trusts, which never existed, birth certificates, PPPs, NASARA, GESARA, ET disclosure and saviour programs. Flat Earth, which also came out of the CIA. Bitcoin and BRICS are taking the old system down. Now they were created by the CIA and NSA. New Age drivel of how crystals, stones, rocks, violet flames, angels, macabres and singing Kumbaya is all going to save them, or worse, a 2,000-year-old man is coming back from the dead to save them. All of it is nonsense to varying degrees. All of it is distractions 100%. But the problem is, it is what too many people want to hear, not what they need to hear. I'm going to call it like it is. If I lose members because I call it like it is, do I care? No. You have to learn the facts to understand there is a problem, to then be able to provide the solution. And this is what disappoints me immensely about the alt media. There's only this group that's providing any solutions, while other show hosts are flip-flopping, all to keep their club. We're not individual clubs. We're we the people. Doesn't matter whether the name is THI, TPC, Off Planet Radio, Circle of White Light, OYM. Forget all them. We the people. Mass arrests, which leads to decentralisation. A key cornerstone of their message, and is also written on the Bitcoin itself. It is them, not us, slashing the big government. Agencies, the military, social programs, social security, banks, mercenary groups and other private contractors and NGOs. With this system, they won't need any of them. It is them trimming their fat. Imagine for a second they do trim all them industries. Well, that's a good thing, many will say in the naive alt media. But what about all the job losses? Where will those people work to earn enough to put food on the table, never mind housing? Where is the new development in jobs going to come from to cover those losses? Decentralising does not mean repurposing, it means cutting everything into a smaller pot that they control. So at that time when we did this show originally, IBM were running the mortgage programs and the latest version of Hercules, Babylon, Byzantine and all the other fake god systems. And clearly it didn't work. At that time there were repeated attempts to leverage in-ground assets of the world to the Shanghai Exchange. That failed as well. And of course, since the original, we've changed the coding language. And this is why they're trying to create a new financial system using the same enslavement birth certificates. And guess what currency they will use? Why, the Facebook Libra, which failed also. The plan was to build them both and link the two to make the leverage against the birth certificates global. And that is the securities behind the Libra they are discussing. Not speculation, that was fact. Their RVs carried on even to this day. Failed that week, I did the original, and failed this week also. Various deadline days to take him out also failed. And so they launched this new program, Libra, which may change name, with IBM using a technology called Watson, which is the reverse engineering of a tech provided by the others, non-human, back in the 1950s. The SSP provided that to IBM. And to all those people who are still following those pair of sellout clowns called Wilcock and Curry Good, not to mention Jordan Sather, who's not only working with them two to dupe the public, he is the puppet boy of the guy in part behind all of this, Robert David Steele. So those of you who are supporting the SSP, known as the Secret Space Program, as some kind of saviours for humanity, are badly mistaken. Real badly mistaken. And again, for those new to our show, it was the SSP who fired the missile at Air Force One last year to take out President Trump. The same SSP that started the California fires and the large earthquakes in Alaska. It is them who have the Jew weapons and the capability of messing with our weather. So who, what, who, when and why? So why are they doing this? Well, for many years there has always been a trust that was for the benefit of humanity, supposedly, but was ran by ruling elites and off-world entities, all of which you can find out more details of in my must listen to section on our website, thinkdifferent.thepeoplesclub.org. Now, the leader of the trust, who was also the king of this planet, ran the whole show, and his name was Marduk. And his object was to collect all of the world's resources, and humans were classed as resources, and in exchange to these globalist elites, he gave them pieces of paper with numbers on, which have no value. And he knew that. But the elite bloodline families didn't notice, or too stupid and drunk on excesses of life via materialistic expenditures. Not to mention the inbreeding. And in exchange for those pieces of paper, he collected all the assets and deposited them into the trust, and by 2007 he owned everything on the planet. And I mean everything. And now that he had everything, he started going into the final phase of the program, which was hinted at on the Georgia Guidestones, except he didn't tell the truth with that either, the elimination of humanity, and he pulled the plug on the trust money altogether, which led to the global financial collapse. And no matter which so-called financial expert or politician tells you that we have come out of it, they're lying. There are no financial experts. They report on the illusion front-based financial systems when the real trading and dealings were off-platform and not available to the public. Reality is we haven't come out of recession and won't until some more brave people step forward, join us and change the game with the support and backing with real assets of the trust. Their 2012 end of humanity deadline failed. Marduk gave them another 5 years to complete it. That failed. But the trust contract, which was hundreds if not thousands of years old, ran out in September of 2012. At this point, an unknown woman to us who worked with Marduk and Putin, the original Putin, the current one isn't, and Putin, who later became the Pindar. This woman, due to her financial background, was approached to take over the running of the trust, based solely on her DNA being as close to all other humans' DNA as possible, to then take over and run the trust on their behalf. And then she went into quite a steep learning curve of life to undertake, oblivious to many of the things that we covered in our shows and many others. Whilst looking through the trust, she found a large amount of discrepancies in the books, backdoors in the banks, multinational groups siphoning funds on every transaction was all found. Now, the trust originally contained 6,500 separate trusts, one of which was the Social Security, which was used for all kinds of nefarious purposes, and Kim rolled them all into one trust and originally called it the Manor World Holding Trust. That has since been changed due to the Rothschild's agent Jesper Ellerman and his Kingdom of Manor crew, and designated it to return all of it back to humanity in a fair way. Not for the so-called elites, royalty or fake bloodline families, but back to the people. It was those people and their thirst for wealth, greed and power that we nearly lost everything on this planet. The trust is to be dispersed when the clowns stop blocking it. For full-on humanitarian, developmental, infrastructure and new technology dispersal, of which several patents of them are contained and owned within the trust. In 2016, she contacted me to help her, and I to work together, and I also started the foundation called the People's Club, and we've been working together on several projects since, not just the financial aspect either, but things way beyond that level. On the financial level, with Kim having identified several issues within the trust and also the entire banking system, we undertook to clean up the whole thing and essentially strip it bare and replace it with programs that were fair, transparent and clean to all. Except these clowns don't want that. We removed several thousand backdoor links, near 36,000, to all banks and every person's account, which unveiled organisations like the CIA, FBI, IRS, the UN, governments and various subsidiary departments, academic institutions, Silicon Valley, the military, all branches, and the SSP were all involved in it. All had access to your accounts. That all got stripped away, their access denied, and was all cleaned up. The original was a front side of banking which the public accesses, and a secret private backside access into every bank and every account which these clowns controlled. Only they had access to. The same applies to Wall Street. There is a public trading and a private trading. Private is where all the real trades goes on, and that private trading platform is 4 to 7 seconds ahead of the public trade at all times. So they get in to make the big deals before the public or traders are aware. The backside, known as the black screens and the codes, was all stripped out, and access is only approved by the trustee, which is Kim. Only she now has the codes to use that banking system, so that cut that avenue off. The next clean-up was in every central and high street bank globally. They installed a mini bank called a clearance account, so all your checks, wires and transfers were all held deliberately in this side account, which they then leveraged off it on stock exchanges via rigged markets, and eventually they cleared your money after 3 to 7 days and sometimes longer. This is why you had to wait to clear checks. The reality is you don't have to wait. They impose that on you. A check is a live cashing the minute someone signs it. On the day we shut down the clearance accounts and transferred all of the money in there to the recipients, there was $180 billion in those clearance accounts. And that appears to be their holding figure. 180 billion of people's money held back per day. So these greed merchants could siphon off it. So now, like the back doors into banks and accounts, these clearance accounts was cleaned up and closed down. Then we dealt with the credit card issue, which is still ongoing, I might add, in some aspects. People want to know why credit card charges are so high for the holder and the shop owners. Because the Federal Reserve and the Pentagon and others in Langley were taking around 0.5% each of every credit card transaction. Then we had a new game to deal with, as several banking establishments tried to hack into the trust and steal it. This ended with us taking the measure to fry their servers attempting that, and that included a whole warship decked out with servers in the bay at Norfolk, Virginia, which is owned by the SSP. All of that got fried. Further attempts were done by NORAD servers, SSP servers out of Wright-Patterson, a new quantum system, they said. Also out of Wright-Patterson tried to hack into the quantum system that houses the trust. That lasted for 12 seconds before that was rendered useless also. Then we had a software problem in the banks and also the US Treasury Department, as Mr. Mnuchin is working for the global elites. Trump has fired him twice, and yet Mnuchin refuses to go, stating he works for the Rothschilds, not Mr. Trump or the American government. And as Rothschilds appointed him, only they can fire him, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is how your government works. You all think Mr. Trump is in charge. Wrong. The software kept denying any transfers from the trust, except if it went to the governments, which they then stole. That was also blocked. They can't do that. They can't steal funds anymore from anywhere. Half of all Pentagon military budgets for every single year was stolen. every single year until we blocked that last year. Under the new banking system, you can trace every transaction, so we can see where the funds went into another account, and Kim is now ahead of every bank as its override controller. She takes the misplaced funds and puts them back into the trust. So we changed the language code of the whole banking system into a language they will not understand or hack. Binary coding became trinary in essence, and suddenly the banks, the military, agencies and what is known as Five Eyes all went blind. Oops. They could no longer access the platforms or see them anymore. We have done certain other things that will not be revealed as yet as operational currently, but as you can see, we have literally stripped away their control of finances and banking, denied them access to accounts, took back several offshore accounts that belong to the trust, stopped them stealing or leveraging in-ground resources, hello Anna von rights, and rendered them all inaccessible unless by approval from Kim, which she will not be given out to clown or rogue organisations who are hell-bent on giving us nothing. Essentially now these people have nothing, only the illusion of control, threats and intimidation. They can't and never were going to release an RV. They don't have control of the banks, gold or any other minerals, as they all belong to the trust. This then stops them from getting a resource and leveraging it 50 to 100 times with the Shanghai Exchange, which they have been doing for many years now. In the middle of all that, the IRS was stopped from sending all American income tax money to a Rothschild's bank in Switzerland, the home of this Libra venture. Cancelled the Federal Reserve license, denied them access to print more money, blocking them from using or trading US dollars, and several other measures, all of which was relayed directly to Mr. Trump. The trust is the highest sovereign entity on the planet and also the highest security clearance. Kim is 41 security levels above Mr. Trump. And so on January the 27th in 2018, Kim, as the main sovereign on the planet, declared America, not the United States, as that's got nothing to do with America, sovereign. This essentially, when it's fully implemented, ends the Crown's control over America. It deletes the Federal Reserve and the IRS, neither of which are American companies. It restores the real Constitution and ends bar lawyers. So people will ask, why can't the trust get out the funds out to the project people? Because we are down to human level issues now, where before it was technical and software. The funds goes into the Treasury and Mnuchin denies it, or it goes to a bank and Mnuchin or Rothschild's group calls the bank and tells them not to pay out or deny the account exists, except the trust can see every account that exists. And at the time when we did this, as an example, Citibank was given funds, were placed in there, and they denied access to it. They paid heavily for that, as Kim pulled all the bonds back. So as you can see, they've had everything taken off them, denied access to funds that don't belong to them, had their siphoning and leveraging of funds or resources which again doesn't belong to them, and they are stuck with a new system that will not allow them to launder or transfer money to fake accounts, print out fake notes, or new notes with duplicate allocation numbers. They all got swiped by the trust also. And this is why the Rothschilds in particular, although they're not the only elite family to be doing this, are doing fire sales every few months now to keep afloat. To put it bluntly, they are effed. And to use a quote that came from a top official of the Federal Reserve last year in a meeting with the Treasury, quote, "You do realise we are fucked, don't you?" Unquote. So they were left with no option but to find another system, platform and mode of transferring that they control. And this Libra, or a derivative of it, is that program. Let's look what it says on the Bitcoin closely, shall we? A large B with 2 nodes on the top and 2 nodes on the bottom. And the B stands for Bitcoin, right? Look closely again. It is not a B, it is a 13. The 13 black nobility families, 13 covens, 13 parents who ran the covens, the 13 bloodline families, and the 13 colonies of America owned by the Crown. Oops. On the back is essentially a processing chip. I wonder what that symbolises. Above the B, or the 13, the 2 nodes represents the Twin Towers, or more pertinently, Joachim and Boaz. It is at the top and the bottom, as above, so below. Their symbolism, now that we are aware of it, gives them away. The British monetary pound sign, hashtag, euro and dollar signs are all very similar. So what is that symbolising? Well, during the 1800s and early 1900s, a British typewriter had the British pound sign on it. But an American typewriter did not have a dollar sign on theirs. So they used the hashtag sign to symbolise American money. In Britain, we have 2 descriptions for the word pound. One is monetary, the second is weight or mass. Today it's just LB. And in the past it was LB with a line across both letters near the top, going left to right, almost making the L in lowercase look almost like a T. Now the word pound derives from, you may be surprised to know, a Roman word. That word is Libra. The ancient Roman units of measurement were largely built on the Hellenic system, which in turn was built upon Egyptian and Mesopotamian influences. In other words, the cult of Ra and the Sumerian gods again. And as many of you have listened to From Russia with Love, you will all know too well. But the final battle of light and dark has now been declared, and it's up to us to fix it. We really are now in the final countdown. This is the final part of tonight's show, and the conclusion really. Having laid it all out, provided the counterbalance to it, or what has been done, as much been done since the first run of this. But the gist of it is, what is this all about? Well, clearly they've lost control of everything financial, and as this show has said all along, they never do things for just one reason or purpose. But with the quantum system, they're backed into a corner, and now they are seeking a desperate countermeasure to stay in control. But this is no ordinary control. This is Orwell-style control on steroids. All cryptocurrency were created by the CIA, NSA, which is GCHQ, and IBM. It has tracking and data mining qualities as laid out earlier. Look at the word, they call it crypto, meaning dead currency. Why? Because it's for dead people. Block or all capital letters means you are dead, like all names on a headstone, because they declare you dead. And they gave themselves the right to control your estate, of which everyone has millions in it, and keep it to themselves, and this was done by the control of your birth certificates. It is being launched now as a tester to see how far they will get with it. They don't have the funding to do this and will rely on people to hand over cash in exchange for their tokens, which they store for you in your digital wallet. But it's not yours because they control it as they stated. So anyone who's involved in the alt media or selling a Bitcoin are selling humanity out, and I don't care who that is or who it upsets. It's fact. If you're going to put a bit of profit over selling out humanity, you're really not the good guy. Just not. So once you have a digital wallet, they will then add in all the data mining collection files they have on all of us into your wallet's database. All your social media, medical records, purchases, phone calls, text, voice recording for those stupid enough to buy Alexa machines or the home security machines or the home security bells. They're recording. Then they have a whole digital version of you, which is then open for cloning, and people really need to think about that, not just for a second, but long and hard. As more jump on board, there will be less and less cash available to the public, which then forces other people to have to get on board in a panic move. We then head into the cashless society, which many think will be a great idea because it can't be stolen, or the dreaded word again, convenience. Oh dear, what happened to the millions of bitcoins in the account in Canada, where the death of a Canadian entrepreneur has left a huge stash of cryptocurrencies locked off from the people who own them. Quadriga, Canada's biggest cryptocurrency exchange, said it's unable to gain access to $145 million of Bitcoin and other digital assets after Gerald Cotton and its 30-year-old CEO and co-founder died of complications arising from Crohn's disease while travelling in India, or so they said. And many of the digital currencies held by Quadriga are stored offline in accounts known as cold wallets, a way of protecting them from hackers, it is said. And Cotton was the only person with access to the wallets according to the company. Case of, oh dear, we're sorry about that happened, but we can't get your fresh tokens back now. And this is beyond stupid, not only in overview, but in any view. It's retardation on a massive scale. And imagine someone 30 years ago knocking on your door and saying, here is a new banking program, and I will take your dollars off you, and in exchange give you some credits that are stored in your landline phone. Now you can use them, but you can't access them, because they're inside your landline phone. It was stupid then, it's even more stupid now.
Imagine having a real currency and the government came along and replaced it with fake fiat notes. Some would say, well, they wouldn't do that. The answer is, they've already done it in 1933 when they took all the gold and silver off the American people. So there is the precedent. If Trump announces tomorrow we're deleting the Federal Reserve note, that paper is valueless. Marduk understood that. Idiot clowns and their elite bloodline people didn't. And this all goes back to the cult of Ra Israelites Templar group, who took sackfuls of gold off people, then gave them pieces of paper, then arranged wars known as crusades, killed loads of people, and when the people never returned for their gold, they kept it. This then started usury banking in the modern era. They got away with it because the people complied with it on both occasions. And this is what has happened with money in general. It has become the new god, and people will do the most ridiculous and heinous things ever in pursuit of it and riches, where literally they lose all basic moral and common sense. But there's an even more dangerous element to this program. If we become cashless and they control access to it, your social media and everything else of your life. What if they decide you can't buy drugs? Some people like pot, but suddenly that is denied. Cigarettes, cigars are banned. With no cash and no access to those purchases would be rendered obsolete. What about alcohol? Say they ban that again. They've done it before in America. Or they decide only certain classes of people can purchase those items, which at that point it will not be in pounds, dollars, euros or even bitcoins, but credits. And those credits are based on a new class system. What if your credits don't allow you to access the internet because they control the Skynet? They can make researching obsolete, decide alternative media is banned, force you to watch their news, pro-pagan da, follow the New World Order, or we deny access to you to your computer, as we will take all your credits off you. Where studying old books, which they will decide is useful or not, will become a punishable offence. Not voting for the right fascist Orwellian leader will cost you credits or jail, or both. Go and watch the series Continuum. It covers some of it early on what they are planning. So you decide to not vote, drink illegally, or do something else that is banned and you no longer have control of, they class you as a terrorist, of which they decide your fate. And just go press delete on your whole wallet and your whole life, with no recall, no way to live. And if you don't think these scenarios are possible, that they won't do that, you need to think again. If your answer is no, they wouldn't do that, clearly you're not thinking straight. You're not critical thinking. You're not future thinking. They have poisoned, bombed, starved and killed billions of people without a single shred of emotion. Think different. And then we come to the reverse side of the Bitcoin and its resemblance to a processing chip, the microchip. Because after a while of using your phone or tablet to access your wallet, they will introduce the next convenient stage. We're phasing out phones and you will be given access to those who volunteer for a chip. The stupid will rush up in line because it's no longer convenient to just use their phones, because that takes all of 30 seconds to do that, and the chip will provide it in a few seconds. So they think they save time. Convenience has been the ruination of us in the past 2 generations. They then turn it into a class-based system whereby the ones who have chips are all cool and the ones who are on phones are not. Just like now, where you are 80% more likely to get a date if you have a certain type of phone. Have you ever heard of anything so ridiculous in all your life? But that's a fact. The ones with the chips will also get extra credits as a seducement to the program. Then, like Microsoft and other computer-based programmers decide, we are just phasing out this old product, and the access to the new one, you will have to get the chip inserted or you will no longer get access to your wallet. Your barcode slavery system just became a digital slavery system, but with the barcode you always had an out card. It's called cash. With crypto and digital you have nothing. If they decide to do a population control, it will all be so easy, they'll just press the delete button on the computer and gone is your wallet and gone is your life. They will run other kinds of programs, divide and conquer, holographic gadgets where everyone can see how many credits you have and how you are complying with the Orwellian system, which will be steered into a credit class system that's even worse than now. Those hooked in with the chips will have thoughts downloaded into them, so they not only control your wallet, they control your mind and health as well. Remember, they would have everything you do on record 24/7. They told you that in their manifesto. You want to pick your nose? It's on there. You want to play with yourself in private parts? It's going to be on there. So there you have it. It's all in your face. And if you still think this crypto is bucking the system after this show, you cannot be helped, and I wish you good luck in your digital robotized slavery suit. But I hope you stay on the right side of them, because if you don't, they will delete your account and subsequently you as well. And I hope this presentation shocks you. It needs to. But more importantly, makes you stop and think what this all entails. The lure of riches in expense for the death of humanity, cast into a world of total tyranny that would make the current mode look distinctly pleasant. This total control and full-on enslavement of humanity, the Orwellian world replete with AI, and the introduction of the robotization of humanity and their end goal of transhumanism. This cannot be left to wait, like we have done as humans so many times. Oh, it'll fix itself. No, this has to be stopped here and now. This has to be the main focus of the alt media, not sitting there waiting for Q or Trump to do something, or some ET saviour programs or financial bonus programs either. We have to learn and fix the problems. We have an alternative that will take much work in transitioning, but it will be paid work for all who can or want to work towards a brighter future. That alternative is Kim and the Trust and the People's Club. Trump knows who we are, and in some ways is trying to assist us as best he can, as I understand it. But we also need to assist ourselves by getting out this broadcast for many to hear and end this nightmare program before it takes hold. And some aspects of tonight's show can be seen as disturbing, and I agree. But we have forced their hand, and it shows how far we've come in bringing down their old system. These clowns are that desperate and in panic, and that has only increased since the first run of this show. They have been forced to show their hands now, and that is credit to us for forcing their once very hidden hand. Now they have no option but to play the death or joker card for all to see. The joker card is not in the pack. The jacks, kings and queens rendered useless also. We the people are the rest of the pack. Only we can put them back in the game. And it's up to us all now to expose these clowns and eliminate this program once and for all. And remember, in the deck of cards, it is we who hold all the aces. We have the power, and it's time to use it. We'll end tonight with 2 songs as a reminder to us all. I hope you enjoyed the show. This has been the Clowns in Panic Revisited. My name's Thomas Williams. Bye for now.